Being able to show up on dates and keep going in your dating life requires energy. It requires emotional and mental and physical capacity. And one thing I've learned is that protecting that capacity starts with the basics: sleep, movement, and of course, eating well. When I'm depleted and I don't want to think about food at all, I am not showing up as my best self anywhere, including in my relationship. So I've gotten really intentional about removing the things that drain me. And as much as I love cooking, some days I just need to skip it. That's where Factor comes in. These are fully prepared dietitian designed meals that are ready in 2 minutes. Factor shops, preps, and cooks. I just pop them in the microwave and eat. It's real food, no shortcuts on quality, lean proteins, colorful veggies, healthy fats, and no artificial sweeteners, no refined seed oils, just the good stuff that your body needs. We recently tried their country herb chicken and potato leek mash that came with corn and zucchini, and this was so good. It's just what I needed after a long day of recording. And I love a meal that's cozy, but also protein forward. And I think a lot of Factor's meals fit the bill. Another one of my favorites is Factor's gochujang salmon with rice and bok choy. This is something I will happily eat every day for the rest of my life. But of course, sometimes it's kind of hard to choose because Factor has over 100 rotating weekly meals, so it never gets repetitive. And if you have specific goals like you want more protein, more fiber, or maybe you're working on strength and recovery, really whatever you're looking to do, there is a collection built for that in Factor. When I am taking care of myself at the basic level, everything gets easier, including showing up as my best self in my relationships. Head to factormeals.com/DI50off and use code DI50off to get 50% off and free daily greens per box with a new subscription only while supplies last until September 27th, 2026. See website for more details. No matter how long you've been dating, sometimes it's really hard to stay hopeful, especially after all the ghosting, breadcrumbing, and bad matches you've dealt with or have yet to deal with. Today, we're talking about staying hopeful in the dating process and what that really means. Welcome back to Dating Intentionally. I'm Talia. I'm sharing no-nonsense advice for navigating dating and relationships with confidence and ease. Whether you've been dating for a while or you're just starting out, I believe dating can be fun, and I'm here to help you in the process. If you're listening to this the week it comes out, I am currently in Japan with Johnny, and today's episode originally aired in July 2024. I'm bringing this back because I know how tough dating burnout can be, and it feels easier to just give up sometimes than to keep slogging through this process. I know some people are like, is the juice really worth the squeeze? And if that has been your mindset lately, this episode is going to help a lot. In this episode, we're going to talk about how the goal of getting into a relationship is different than other goals you might have in your life, like getting really fit, leveling up in your career. We're going to talk about why hope actually isn't what you need more of in this process. We'll talk about the expectations trap and how comparing yourself is wrecking your mindset. We'll also get into how you can reframe and 5 concrete actions you can take instead of just trying to find more hope. And at the end, I'm getting into a fresh dating dilemma, so stay tuned. And as always, I love hearing from you. So if any of this resonates with you, drop a comment on Spotify, shoot me a DM on Instagram. You can reach me anytime at dating.intentionally. Yes, even while I am eating all the sushi I possibly can in Japan. All right, let's get to it. First, let's look at our expectations. And honestly, I love talking about expectations because it's something in our control. And for a lot of us, we don't even realize how our expectations affect our feelings about what is happening in our lives. And I think expectations and hope are connected. Our hopes in some ways fuel our expectations. And you might be looking around, right, at your friends and people in your life or people on social media. You watch them get into relationships and they seem happy. And you're like, what do I have? What do they have that I don't? What's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? Your expectation is that just because your friend found love, that means you should be able to easily too, right? But why? Where does that expectation come from? And I want to tell you right now that your friends are not better than you because they're in a relationship. Your relationship status has nothing to do with your value as a human. The truth is, like, a lot of it's luck and timing, a lot of it. Another expectation to look at goes back to the first analogy that I mentioned of working out or putting in time on a home improvement project or a craft. Like, if you put in the effort, there is a tangible ROI on it. You complete the project, you hit your target, and you're on to the next thing. So we expect the same thing with dating, but dating is different. We expect that if we go on dates, we put an effort into our appearance, if we use the apps, if we go to therapy and all that, that someone will eventually choose to be with us. And that's that. It's really frustrating when we frame the work we do on ourselves as something that should earn us a partner. There's a sense of entitlement that just by doing all these things, the world owes us a relationship. But in reality, like I said earlier, it's a lot of luck and timing and so many things that aren't in our control. And look, I'm sure if you've been out there dating, you know this happens. You meet someone great, but they're not over their ex. You finally hit it off with someone, but they want kids and you don't. Or you have the best sex of your life and then they're moving halfway across the world next month. You're not doing anything wrong. Sometimes it's truly a gamble, which I know makes it harder to feel positive about, but I'm not here to sugarcoat things on this podcast. Like, this is really how it is. And I get it. It's like, what's the point of trying if we can't control who comes in and out of our lives that well? This is why I think hope is kind of irrelevant in the dating process. Having hope doesn't help you if you're not doing things that will get you closer to who you're looking for in your dating life. These are the things you can control. Hope doesn't affect any of these things, in my opinion. My advice is to shift from hyperfixating on the outcome and focus on what you can get out of the journey and the process, right? It's all about the journey and the process, not the destination. Instead of hoping that your next first date is your last, why not hope to have a good time for an hour over cocktails or coffee? Why not hope to find something in common with your date that you can nerd out about or what you can learn from them on a subject you know nothing about? Why not hope to discover a local new spot to check out again in the future with or without your date? Or hope that this date will teach you something about yourself that you didn't know before or confirm something you've been mentally chewing on. That's the hope. Not that you are going to never have to go on a first date again, right? Some green flags I've been thinking a lot about lately are if they text back promptly, if they can actually make a plan, if they really listen, and if they have fresh, crisp sheets and bedding. You know, assuming you make it far enough into dating someone to know their bedding situation. The right sheets, blankets, and comforters can make such a big impact on the quality of your sleep. And I've noticed right away when we upgraded our bed with Bowl and Branch. They make everything your bed needs. Their signature cotton sheets, pillows, blankets, and comforters are all designed to be breathable, incredibly soft, and they actually get better over time. We started with their signature sheet set and the waffle blanket, and I will fully admit I am a blanket hog. Johnny has no chance. It is just that cozy. Getting out of bed in the morning was already hard enough, and now it's basically impossible because this bedding from Boll and Branch is just so comfy. What I love about Boll and Branch, other than the quality, is how their bedding gets softer with each wash. I also love that they have so many chic color options. Speaking of green flags, we went with a sage green waffle blanket that brightened up our bedroom and gave it a fresher look. Upgrade your sleep with Boll and Branch. Get 15% off your first order plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com/dating with code DATING. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/dating, code DATING to unlock 15% off. Exclusions apply. I work from home and in California, the weather is actually starting to get nice. So every time it's beautiful and sunny out, I'm kicking myself thinking, why am I not outside sitting in my yard working? And so this spring, I am determined to set up our outdoor space so I can actually work outside, eat outside, and just exist outside. And Way Day at Wayfair could not have come at a better time. It's happening April 25th through the 27th, and it's the best home sale of the year. Up to 80% off with free shipping on everything: furniture, decor, outdoor, home improvement, all of it. I've been using Wayfair to slowly make our home feel more like us, and the outdoor space is that last frontier. I want to set up where I can get my laptop out in the morning, have my coffee, and actually enjoy the California weather that I've been completely ignoring. What I love about shopping at Wayfair is how easy it is to narrow things down. You can filter by style, size, price, all of it, so that you're not drowning in options that don't work for you. And I always look for Wayfair verified pieces, which means their team has done a 10-point quality inspection on the item. And when you're buying furniture online, that really helps. Wayday is the sale to shop the best deals in home. We're talking up to 80% off with fast and free shipping on everything. Head to wayfair.com April 25th through the 27th to shop Wayday. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Let's also talk about beliefs for a second. So rather than figuring out how to maintain this feeling of hopelessness, I think what's more effective is focusing on our belief systems. Let's put aside hope for a second and talk about your dating mindset and beliefs. Because your beliefs, what you hold as truth in your mind, is way more important than how much hope you have or staying hopeful. What beliefs do you have about your dating life and yourself when it comes to dating? Here's a belief I want you to try on, okay? I will find someone amazing who can meet my needs. Say it in your head. I will find someone amazing who can meet my needs. That's not a hope, that's a belief. That you speak that as if it's a truth, right? And look, I get it. This might be a big leap mentally for you and that's okay. There's a way to get there and we can take baby steps. Like if you want a partner, you need to work on believing it will eventually happen. You need to have that energy. You need to carry that thought around with you. Your beliefs about yourself and your life and your self worth are more visible to potential matches than you think. When you believe this stuff, it will instantly make you more magnetic. When you shift your beliefs to this more positive, like, this will happen for me type of belief, your brain will automatically pick up on signs to back that belief up. The same is true for the opposite. If you believe you are undesirable and it's never going to happen, your brain will find evidence to prove that to be true. This is called cognitive bias, and it's usually pretty subconscious. It's a coping mechanism our brains use to process information through a filter of your experiences and preferences. So you can choose to change your beliefs. It can be really hard. I get it. I have limiting beliefs about myself too. And if you want to hear a deeper conversation about this, I highly recommend listening to episode number 68 of this podcast with Jackie Glazer, all about developing self-worth and forming a more positive belief system. I got a lot of great feedback on that episode, so it's definitely worth a listen if you struggle with this. And look, I'm sharing this with you because this is what worked for me. I've gotten a lot of DMs from people who ask me, how did you have hope you'd find someone in your dating journey? And honestly, I never thought about hope, like having hope or not. It was more about my beliefs. I knew I would inevitably find someone because my actions aligned with my desire to meet someone who could meet my needs. I was going on dates. I was focusing on putting my needs first. I knew that I would meet someone who would fit the bill, and I did. And if you're listening to this and you're like, Talia, I have no evidence to back up that I'm dateable, here is what I need you to do. 1, write down at least 20 things you like about yourself when you're done listening to this podcast. And 2, ask your friends and family what they think your best qualities are. Let them know that you're asking because you're working on reinforcing positive beliefs about yourself, and this will help you in your dating journey. And listen to me. You are dateable. You have a lot to offer someone, even if you've never had a chance to do that in a relationship. I promise. So, like I said earlier, hope is very passive. Let's take a look at 5 actions you can take. The first one is discovering your needs. This is something you could do on your own, right? You can read books like Date Brazen by Lily Womble, or F the Fairy Tale by Damona Hoffman, or Breakup Bootcamp by Amy Chan. Or you can take my course, How to Identify Your Needs, which is in my bio link on Instagram, or you can do this with a therapist. So that's one action, and there are a lot of different ways to accomplish that. Number 2, get out there in the dating world. Get on the apps. Try to meet people in real life, whatever it is. Ask yourself, are you making it easy for people to find you and connect with you? If not, that is something you could probably change. Number 3, go on fun dates that include activities you enjoy regardless of who is with you. Maybe you're not a bar person. Great. Then find an activity you would enjoy doing even with mediocre company. Number 4, shift your focus on dates. Instead of only paying attention to signs that they're into you or closely listening for clues that they might be your future spouse, focus on what you can learn about yourself in the early dating stages, and as always, focus on if you like them. And 5, reflect on this. Would you date you? If not, why? Can you offer the emotional support and relationship skills that you are looking for in a partner? If not, taking action on that is worth looking into as well. Look, we can hope for the best in our dating lives, but remember that having high hopes will get you down. Even if you do everything right, even if you're very particular about who you date, you're going to end up on dates with people who are not going to work out. And this is why I don't think having hope is that all that helpful. It's more neutral, I guess. Like, yes, have hope, but it's not going to actually bring you closer to what you want. So let's talk about how to stay motivated when you're stuck in the dating cycle. Because I think part of this question of how do we stay hopeful is really like the deeper question is how do I stay motivated? Because there's this cycle, right, that you get stuck in. You match, you chat, you meet, someone either ghosts or gets rejected, and you start over. And it does get repetitive, especially if you've been ghosted a few times or rejected a few times in a row. I remember I had like 10 or 11 first dates in a row that didn't lead to any second dates. And honestly, the way to deal with this is to go into dates with a more neutral mindset. Be open to the possibility that it might go really well, but don't be surprised if it doesn't. Even after my first video call date with Johnny, my fiance, it was fine. And I literally thought to myself, I will never hear from this man again. And the thought of that didn't bug me because he was a stranger. I wasn't sitting there after the Zoom call being like, I just met my future husband. Absolutely not. The stakes were very low. When it comes to being stuck in that cycle, here's the truth. Every person's different. Each date is a different experience. Sometimes multiple people ghosting you in a row is really just a coincidence, and it sucks. But it's not like your dates are all having a meeting behind your back planning on how they're going to ghost you, right? It's purely coincidence unless you aren't in fact doing something or saying something on dates that's causing the average dater to ghost you. But I feel like that's not the case. I think most people who ghost are just immature or overly anxious and can't handle the pain of rejecting someone or don't know what they want. It's not really about you. And I just want to point out this is all another reason to keep working on being more grounded and a little more detached in those early dating stages. If you tend to go all in super early, you're going to feel hurt more often. And if you feel hurt more often, it's going to be harder to stay motivated. If you approach each date thinking, this is it, they're the one, and then get ghosted, then dating is going to feel horrible. Staying grounded and being realistic will help you have more endurance. And if you need a break, take one. I want to get into some tips for staying positive. Because again, having hope is one thing, staying positive is probably going to be more impactful in your journey. And by the way, I am not trying to shove positivity down your throat. I want to hold space for you if you are having a hard time with dating because it is hard. This isn't about gaslighting yourself or minimizing your very real experience if you've been out with a lot of duds, you've been ghosted, hurt, all that stuff. I want to help you have a more sustainable dating experience, meaning that you don't quit for a few months every time you get ghosted or people on the apps aren't matching back. I want to help you turn this emotional roller coaster into more of an emotional lazy river, right? It's a little more calm and chill. And look, I can't ignore this. Our culture right now, and I am definitely a part of this, it's like we're all putting all hands on deck on dating, or you're completely out of the dating scene and you've sworn off your desired gender. I don't think this all or nothing approach to dating is good, and it can certainly feel powerful, like you're putting your stake in the ground, but it's not sustainable. It's better to find that balance. So how do we stay positive? Well, my first tip is to make a point of noticing all the things you have in life right now. Try to practice this when you feel yourself going into that mental spiral. You know the one. It goes, oh my God, I've been single for so long. I'm never going to find anyone, blah, blah, blah. That's a thought that you're probably going to have once in a while, but it's not a fact. It's just a thought. Don't let that turn into one of your beliefs. Here are some mindset things that really help me. One is remember that they are looking for you too. The person that you're looking for is also hoping to meet you. I think that's really nice to think about. Like they're out there looking for you, hoping to meet you one day. Another thing I used to think about is how my future husband was probably in a relationship or doing something that would make him a better partner for me. So it's like I wasn't meeting him at that moment because he was on his journey becoming a better person. And by the time we met, he'd be great. And I don't know, that also is a very comforting thought to me. Another one is just trusting your timing. Okay. I know this is one of the most annoying things to hear because it is passive, but we have to stop with the comparison. There is no right path that's good for everyone. You're on your own path, your friends are on theirs. And I always like to point this out, even though it's kind of a bummer to think about. And it's just true. Just because your friends are in relationships now does not mean those relationships are endgame, right? It doesn't mean they're going to be in them forever. It also doesn't mean they're happy in their relationships. Like it's better to be alone than in the wrong relationship. Just keep that in mind. I really hope this episode reframes hope a little bit for you. So to recap, 1, hope is passive. What are you actually doing to find an amazing match? And if you're already doing everything right, what can you do to take the pressure off the process? Instead of walking into each first date hoping it'll be your last, what can you get out of dating? And lastly, what are your beliefs around yourself and the dating process? Is there room for improvement there? Can you carry the belief that you will eventually meet someone incredible? Let me know if you found this helpful. You can DM me on Instagram at dating.intentionally or email me at datingintentionallypod@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. So I got a few questions about this from Instagram that I'd love to address. So here we go. What if I'm initially excited for a date, but then I dread it the day of? So I like to think of sometimes, like if you're in the situation, I like to think about it like a workout. Like you dread it before you do it, but then afterwards, you're glad you did it. So I would say go for it. But if this does happen repeatedly, it's time for some introspection. What are you dreading? Why are you dreading it? And what can you do to address it? Another question was, how do you not lose hope when guys don't text back? And my advice, my answer to this is don't hope for a text back. Instead, you are stepping back to see what happens. You are observing. And then based on your observations, that's when you make a decision whether or not you like them. So if they're texting you back like 2 days later, you get to decide if you like that or not. You don't have to put up with that. This is the process of investing and testing. So you invest when you text them and you test when you see how things play out. And look, it's a bummer. I wish this guy was texting you back. But just remember that this is them showing you who they are. They are showing you what they think is acceptable, and you get to decide if you like how they're treating you and what to do with that information. All right, this one is, it's frustrating when you like people who seem similar and want the same thing on a profile, but they don't like you back. So here's the thing. You're not entitled to anyone liking you back. No one is. No one owes us that. You don't owe someone else that. People don't match for so many reasons. Like they're not active, they're already seeing someone, they're too busy or overwhelmed, they don't have notifications on, or they're just not feeling your profile, and that's okay. I mean, think about how many people you swipe left on, right? Like this is part of it. So don't overthink the swipe right. Don't hope for the like back. You just send out your swipe right into the abyss and move on. Pretend you didn't even send that swipe right. You know what I mean? Like just pretend it never even happened. It should be gone from your mind. All right, last one. I find the uncertainty of dating difficult. How can I deal with this? Yeah, this is rough. And this is part of it. This is why this podcast exists. This is why dating coaching exists, because the uncertainty is so tough. And my take on this is that the more grounded you are in yourself, the stronger of a relationship you have with yourself, the easier it is to deal with the uncertainty in life, because there's so little we can actually control in life, but you always have yourself, right? That's what you need to come back to when you feel uncertain, that you have to remind yourself that you're going to be okay, even if you don't get the text back, even if they ghost you, even if they end up you see them back on the apps when you said you're supposed to be exclusive. You're going to be okay. I promise. Okay, let's get into a fresh dating dilemma. By the way, you can submit dating dilemmas in the show notes. There's a link that says ask me a question, and we answer one on the podcast pretty much every episode. So thank you to everyone who has submitted. Here we go. I, 34 female, matched with a 38-year-old male on a dating app. We chatted for a while, and then he asked me out for an in-person date, and he selected the location, an upscale cocktail lounge that I had mentioned being interested in a few days before. Very nice. The day before our date, he messaged me that he had a rough week at work and he had just found out that a friend of his had died. I let him know that I was sorry to hear that, and I understood if he wanted to reschedule our date to take some time to decompress. He said that he would still like to meet up, but he wanted to do something, quote, less stressful, like coffee. This didn't land well with me. It felt like he was asking me to still prioritize making time to see him when he knew he wouldn't be able to show up and give me his best. One of my needs is being shown consistent effort, which at this stage means thoughtful dates. I also want to note that I always ask for separate checks on dates and plan to pay my own way, so this isn't about having an expensive evening on someone else's dime. In the end, I left the ball in his court to propose a lower key meetup. He never got back to me with specific plans. I checked in with him a few days later to make sure he was okay, and he said he was, but the conversation fizzled out, and I saw that he recently deleted his profile. Is downgrading a date once nicer plans are made acceptable? Was my internal reaction too harsh given the circumstances? Okay, so this is definitely a letdown, and I get why you were annoyed. It's like, why not just jump to rescheduling instead of trying to quote downgrade the date? I do think that part is weird, and I'll come back to it, but I do think in general, the first date is a vibe check, right? The activity and the thoughtfulness matter a little bit less in this stage. The parameters for thoughtfulness on a first date to me are more about making the location and time easy for both people and being prompt about scheduling. Other than that, why expect more thoughtfulness from a total stranger, someone who doesn't know you and doesn't even know if they want you in their life? And here's one thing I want to push on a little bit. You said one of your needs is consistent effort, and I'm really glad you know what your needs are. We love to hear that. And here's the thing, consistent effort is something that you need to evaluate over time. And it's really hard to evaluate that when your only data point is planning this first date. And I don't know if I would chalk this up to inconsistency or a lack of effort. It's more of a he was pivoting in the moment based on his emotional needs, which was kind of inconvenient for you or just unexpected because you expected to go to this upscale cocktail bar. And he was like, actually, can we get coffee instead? The other thing to consider here is momentum. And one of the things about judging whether or not someone can meet your needs before you even get to the first date is that if you never get to the date, you just don't get any more information. So I think that's why I'm more team just get to the date and keep the momentum, because otherwise the date just won't happen. And I'm not saying you should settle for less just for the sake of momentum. It's just more of a matter of considering what is in the bigger picture here. Like, what do you want more, to actually get to know someone in person or to be nitpicky about what kind of date you have? And look, I've been there. I really believe some grace and flexibility can pay off. Here are two examples from my experience. My first date with Johnny was a video call when I was expecting coffee or drinks in person because I didn't realize he wasn't in my location. He didn't share that information up front. And I was a little disappointed in the moment when he said, I can't meet for coffee, but I can do a Google Hangout. I remember rolling my eyes and kind of being like, really? But I wanted to get to know him and I just wanted to get to the first date, and look how that turned out. Another example, there was this guy I met before Johnny. We matched and we chatted. We wanted to meet up, and he mentioned he was leaving for a trip, and we decided to squeeze in a quick date before he left. And I actually had to move another date that I had that night a little bit later just so I could make it work. Judge me all you want. I ended up going out with both of them a few times. Anyway, we both acknowledged on our date that if we hadn't met up before his trip, it wouldn't have happened at all. So a little flexibility if you're prioritizing dating can really help. But to your actual question, was your internal reaction too harsh? Let me know in the comments what you guys think if you're listening. What would your reaction be? I don't think it was too harsh. I just think it was kind of aimed at the wrong part of what happened. The downgrade itself isn't the real issue. The real issue is that he never came back with an actual plan. If he had said, hey, I'm going through it, can we reschedule and grab coffee on a different day at this place? I think you would have been a little bit more open to that because he's coming in with a plan instead of being like, I don't know. He instead vagued out and then deleted his profile. So those are the signs of where he's at in his dating life. The date wasn't going to happen either way, and you didn't cost yourself anything by leaving the ball in his court. So I think you did the right thing. To wrap it up, I think a downgrade in a date is a yellow flag worth some grace. Sometimes it just makes sense. But the follow through or the lack thereof here is the real red flag. And personally, I don't know about you guys, but I do not understand how cocktails are more or less stressful than coffee. To me, they're like the same level of stress. I feel like if I was going through it, I'd still want to go get a cocktail with someone and kind of have a little escapism moment. Not that coffee isn't that, but you know what I mean? It's like, I don't get that. If you understand that, please tell me in the comments because I don't. And the last thing I want to say on this is I guess I'd want you to reflect on what came up for you in that moment when he asked for this downgrade, because usually when a small thing lands harder than it should, it is tapping and pointing at a fear, maybe something planted by an earlier experience. And that's worth getting curious about because that's where the real learning is. All right, we went really deep on that one. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for trusting me. If you know someone who is navigating dating and could use a confidence boost or fresh perspective, share this episode. And if this podcast has helped you, a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify goes a long way. Once again, I'm Talia. This is Dating Intentionally, and I'll see you next time.